I had previously been LeBron James' dentist. LeBron told Dwayne about me. Dwayne Wade came in and I said, you don't have to, but it would be so nice if you posted something. And he's like, sure. And he, sure enough, opens his mouth on Instagram, takes a picture of his teeth. And he's like, just 3 months ago, my teeth were playing peekaboo and look at this. That was all I needed to see for the power of social media.
Yeah.
People are surprised to know that I didn't even get an Instagram until 2019. I was anti-social media. When they know it's your page, there's a different connection people have. People want to feel like you're not a robot and you're not a company. I put a lot of attention into building a social media page that not only reflected the excellence of work, but also I wanted that brand to show up as me.
Welcome to another episode of the Dental Dialogue. We're in person. We are in the lovely Miami. Now we've got a highly acclaimed dentist with us. As you can see, we've got a Howard graduate, Dr. Amira Ogunleye. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you very much for having us in your lovely
So happy
space.
to be here with the both of you.
Yeah. I mean, when we reached out to you, we just, honestly speaking, just looked for the best dentist in Miami. Your name popped up, and we're here now, I think, a few weeks later in your practice, and we are so excited to just hear what it means to you to run a practice here in Miami. A bit about your story, how you got here, and also how you started your social media journey, because there's so many other dentists out there who are interested in how people build that out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where to begin. That's
Begin from the beginning.
Yeah.
Give us a rundown of it.
So just growing up, I was born in Egypt, and my family immigrated here when I was really young. So you know the immigrant story. My father was really strict. It was education, education, education. You could be a doctor, a dentist, or a lawyer. Those were like
Only 3 options.
yeah, that's it. You know, and education meant everything. And so I actually, surprisingly, I watched the movie. There's a movie called Jerry Maguire, and he's a sports agent.
All right.
So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to law school and I'm gonna be like a sports agent, which is funny because my husband is a retired NFL player. So it's just the irony. But my dad was like, no. When I said attorney, that's not the type of attorney
That I meant.
yeah, like no. So I was like, he's like, you don't need to go to law school, dental school or med school. And I honestly probably would have been like a plastic surgeon, but I hated hospitals, like something about being in a hospital. So I reluctantly actually decided to pursue dental school. And University of Florida in Gainesville, they had a 7-year dental program. So you do, traditionally it's 4 years of undergrad and 4 years of dental school. The University of Florida, you could do 3 years and 4 years of dental school, so you could be a dentist in 7 years. So my dad was like, you're going to that school. So I was like, oh, okay. So I got into their program, and a month before school started, he found out that Howard University offered a 6-year program.
Oh, wow.
So he's like, you're going to be 23 years old and you're going to be a dentist. And I'm like, but I want to live my life. I want the college experience. And he's like, he's foreign. He's like, you don't need no experience. You could just go be a dentist. So that's what I did.
Wow. And I read that you graduated with 23 already. You were one of the youngest, or was it the youngest graduate?
At the time of graduation, I don't know if someone's come since me, but at the time of graduation, I was the youngest graduate of Howard Dental at 23.
How old was everybody else?
I think the youngest after me would have been 2 years older because I skipped 2 years, so 25. But when I started, what was funny is that everyone was 21 years old at some point. And I remember that I couldn't get into the club with my classmates.
Yeah.
So I had stolen my older sister's ID. My older sister's 9 years older than me.
All right.
Oh, wait. No, I'm not even telling you the whole truth. I don't even know how I did this. Oh my God, this is so illegal. Somehow I went to the driver license place. I promise you. I wish I could tell you exactly how I did it, but I think I said I lost my driver's license. I brought her like citizenship papers because it wasn't your birth certificate. I brought all her paperwork, and they had her old picture in the system, but her old picture was like years ago where she looked younger. So they were like, okay, so I took a new driver's license picture, my face, with all my older sister's information. So when I would go places, I was not even 21. I was like 20, but it was saying I was 30. And they're looking at me like, how do you look so good for your age?
Yeah.
But they knew it wasn't, it was because it was me.
It was your picture.
It was
Yeah.
my
It was
picture.
you.
Yeah.
You
And
were
I was like,
next level with it.
Yeah,
oh
that
my
was
God,
that
I
was
know
really
that. I don't
good.
even know if my husband knows that story.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so then you could basically also like you could well connect with your classmates. And,
Yeah, so then I could go out with them and stuff, and it was just like a whole funny thing. But yeah, that's how I ended up being a dentist that young. And they always say like, like we make plans and God laughs, because we have plans of what we're gonna do. And my plan was never in my mind to be a dentist. I was like, this is my strict father. But I went on to dental school, and I just like I found a passion for it. And I think that sometimes like your steps are just ordered for you, and it just
Yeah.
kind of like works out like that.
Yeah.
And the great thing about the profession of dentistry is that there's so many things you can do.
Yeah.
If you're not into endo, like you don't have to do that. You want to do cosmetics, cool. You're into surgery, do that. Well, you're not into hands-on dentistry at all, go teach. Like
Yeah.
it just there's so many doors.
Yeah, that I definitely agree on that. What would be some attributes that you had when you started dental school where you realized, wow, this is really something that I enjoy and that makes sense for me?
Well, the first 2 years of dental school, it's like so academic, and I had like I had a really good photographic memory. And because I was so young, I was still like wanting to hang out with like the undergrad people. And so my whole thing was like, just like get by, right? And people are surprised to know that like I was never the top of my class at all. Like I was really blessed with like my memory skills, so I could memorize stuff, take a test, pass. Like, but I had classmates that'd be like, "You need to specialize," and I'm like, "No, just need to get out of here,
Yeah.
doing what I need to do. I want to enjoy my life. I want to graduate." It wasn't until I got in the clinic, and I don't think I even knew it for myself, but some of my professors, and they say like the best leaders are able to see something in you that you can't see in yourself. And some of my professors would just be like, wow, like your margins are so nice. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, like sign my paper. Like, I wasn't really, I was young and immature in a sense of like, I didn't understand the responsibility that was given to me and the blessings from God. So I just knew like, okay, cool, I'm pretty good at this. Like I passed my boards the first time. Like I kind of just, was like, this is just a profession. I never found a real passion for dentistry until I started like working in private practice.
So really, so it's once you got that.
Yeah, once I was there, like I was even known in my class as like, she doesn't take things serious. I would get my work done and like go hang out. We called it up on the hill because that was where all the undergrad was. I had my undergraduate friends. Like, I just was like, I just need to pass. I just need to get through.
Yeah.
And then,
sorry to interrupt.
No, no,
I think that this is like, especially when I look at what you do, you are not just a dentist. And that's something that like our path that we started walking on now after graduating, realized that as a dentist, the people that enjoy it much more, the whole profession, are the ones that venture out and not just do one thing every day. And that's what we saw with you as well, where we actually were so excited because you are more like a dental entrepreneur than just a clinical dentist.
yeah, I can see your point there, and I think that like, I mentor a lot of young dentists, and a lot of people often are like, how do you get to where you're at? Like, what is the key? And like, there's always like, how do you get there? Or what did you do? And I always like tell people that like, you really have to be authentic to who you are and what you do, right? So it's not like I set out and said, I'm gonna do this or be that. I kind of just like let who I naturally was guide me. And like you said, I had a big personality, and I, enjoyed outside of like the dentistry, I enjoyed the relationships I was making, like with my clients, with people. And I think that that's what really built an actual brand, right? And I always tell people like, newer dentists coming up, you are your brand, right? It's not the practice you work for. You have got to build a name for yourself that if I pick up right now and I move from Miami and I move to Idaho, Dr. Amira is still Dr. Amira.
Yeah.
And people know me as Dr. Amira. It's not They might know the name of my practice. They might know I practice in Miami right now. But I have become my own brand, and I've done that with not putting everything into dentistry.
Exactly.
Like, who are you as a person? Because this is a very intimate profession. And I think the more that we realize that it's not just like a clock in and a clock out, you're building relationships with patients, and you have to show people that you care. I always say, like, one of my favorite sayings is, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And when you really care about what you do and you care about people, they can feel it and they can sense it. And that's how you grow, and that's how you build, and that's how you get to the level that so many people often say, well, how did you do it?
Yeah.
I think that's 100% facts, especially, and it's great that that's some of the advice that you are giving people that you're mentoring, that you've got to be yourself, you've got to be personal,
Yeah.
especially when you're doing a job where you're constantly in contact with people. And I know that you said that's how you built your brand to this point. But looking back, the Dr. Amira that you are now, what actionable steps could you maybe say, if you were to think, that you took to build the brand that you have today?
So social media is so huge. People are surprised to know that I've been practicing. See, I graduated in 2000. I'll tell you guys my age now, 2007. And we're in what I've been almost 20 years. What is it?
Yeah, it's over 15 already.
Yeah. So people are surprised to know that I didn't even get an Instagram until I think 2019.
Sure.
That's when I opened my Instagram. I was anti-social media.
So just before COVID, basically.
Yes. People are so surprised to know that. When I met my husband, it's funny. He was like, "Oh, you on Facebook or on Twitter?" I was like, "No. I don't really like that social media stuff." And it's funny because he liked that about me. You know, he was like, "Really?" And I just always, I mean, I grew up, like, my family, like I said, is Egyptian. So they're like, oh, the bad eye. You know about the bad eye. Like, you know, they're like, don't post your, you know. And so I was like keeping myself private, like, let me, you know. And it was actually my sister who now, if you see the two of us, I look like the social media guru. And she's so, like, I don't really care about social media. She is like the business and brains behind a lot of our office. You know, we're partners. We've been partners since I graduated dental school. And she was the one who was like, the office needed an Instagram page. And I was like, why? And she, you know, Instagram was like a little newer back then. That was like 2000. That was back like 2016-ish.
Yeah, well, just pictures.
Yeah, it was like pictures. Yeah, I was, and I was like, but why? She's like, because that's like the new, like, Google. Like, we gotta post, we gotta be present. I'm like, all right, cool. And
Hold my water.
I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade was coming in, and I was
Coming into the practice or coming in?
coming to the practice.
Okay.
He was coming to practice. So I had already been seeing a lot of big names, but I didn't have social media, and I didn't really think the value of it. Like, I had names because it was like word of mouth, and I'd seen one and two, and we can get into that too, about how my husband played a really huge part in my career. But Dwayne Wade came in, and I said, the story of Dwayne Wade is that he had crooked bottom teeth, and we were doing something called 6 month smiles, and it was really fast braces. And he, I think he had some type of commercial. I want to say it's Gatorade coming up, and he needed his teeth straightened in a really fast amount of time. And I had previously been LeBron James' dentist.
Wow.
So LeBron told Dwayne about me, and Dwayne had sent his sons to me prior to do their braces. So I had already done his kids at that point. So long story short is they basically are like, his team's like, can you straighten his teeth in 3 months? And what I really should have said is no, because I had never done it. But the businesswoman in me said, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, my team's looking at me like, you're a freaking crazy person. And I'm like, absolutely. And then we come in and we literally straighten his teeth so fast. Because I always tell people, the most successful people you know say yes first, and we figure out how.
Yeah,
After.
100%.
After. I don't care how we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So, of course, he leaves my office that day. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? I got this. You know, we figure it out. So one of the times he comes in, I say, you don't have to, but it would be so nice if you posted something.
Yeah.
Because now my sister's like, you just ask him. And I was so shy and embarrassed to ask someone to post. And he was Dwayne Wade, and now he's a good friend of mine, which is crazy now looking back. And I'm like, if you wouldn't mind, it would be nice. It would like help out our bit. And I'm like this timid. And he's like, sure. And I'm like, he's not going to do it. And he, sure enough, opens his mouth on Instagram, takes a picture of his teeth because they're all straight now. And he's like, just 3 months ago, my teeth were playing peekaboo. And look at this. Overnight, we had 5,000 new followers.
Wow.
And that was my office Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was all I needed to see for the power of social media.
Yeah, 100%.
And I was like, wow. So it's so much bigger than like, oh, I don't want to show off. I don't want the bad eye. Like, this is business.
Yeah.
Because of those 5,000 new followers, even if we turn over 2.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
From one post, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question, we did it from my office, and then I got to a point where I was like, I think I need to brand myself because our office had many doctors and it was office, but I also felt like our office wasn't followers that we had on our Instagram. It wasn't someone you could touch, meaning who was behind Beautiful Smiles Instagram. When they know it's your page, there's a different connection people have. And so now the young dentists I mentor, I say, you don't have to give them all of who you are. People want to feel like you're not a robot and you're not a company. Who am I touching? Who am I trusting? I don't know if it's making sense what I'm saying to you. So everybody that I've ever poured into after me, I've said, build your brand off of you. They want to know who you are still. And so I put a lot of attention into building a social media page that not only reflected the excellence of work that I was passionate about, but also everything I did, I wanted that brand to show up as me, right? Like I'm a mom, I'm a wife, women empowerment means something to me. And so I think that for my success anyways, I always tell people, I have a lot of followers who literally just come for the cases. They could be a 75-year-old dentist man.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about no fashion, no pumps, the latest trend, but he's still gonna follow because he wants those cases, right? And then I have a whole bunch of followers who could care less about the teeth. I mean, let's just be honest.
I think that's majority. I think that the dentists who start their personal brand, they are so successful because especially dentists who are most people don't like to go to the dentist.
Right.
And they finally kind of can see who they are.
Yeah.
And that is why most people follow. And what happens with the dentists who post all the cases, they get all the students, the dental students, and the other dentists following them. So they miss kind of the target audience.
Oh my gosh, what you just said is so amazing because my associate, who's also my mentee, and I'm so proud of her, Dr. Shahada, she's been working under me for years, and she just opened her own new practice. And we were talking about a colleague of ours. And so she was basically telling me that she noticed that my page seems to have more engagement from clients than other dentists, and and I said versus a colleague of ours who has a ton of dentists commenting on the cases, and I said yes, because my goal was never to become the popular dentist with the dentists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My goal was I want to change people's lives. I want to do dentistry. I want clients. That's my thing. And so just like you said, my content is more targeted towards patients and new patients. Want to gather new patients. Now, there's nothing wrong with having dentists follow you, but now if I decide, which I think I'm gonna launch an aesthetics course, I got to change my content a little bit now because now I'm trying to reel in dentists.
Yeah.
So you got to look at yourself and say, okay, what is my goal here? Am I trying to build clientele? Do I want more cases? Do I want to be the top specialist of whatever I'm doing? Is my goal that I want to be doing dental courses? So you have to think about, what is it? Do I want to work with big brands? So for me, I ended up doing deals with like Mass Mutual, which is a life insurance company. I did a deal with Barbie. So you can't do deals like that if you're not somehow appealing to that type of market. But in those deals wasn't even naturally, when I said about being authentic, it wasn't because I was like, oh, I want to work with Barbie. But I wanted to show, especially young women of color, that you can't, you can have it all, but not all at the same time. So I wanted to show women a lot of my life that was with my kids and raising children, and maybe not in the office so much because I couldn't do both. And I wanted them to also see lives where I'm grinding and I'm this boss woman. And I wanted them to see parts of it to just show full circle what's reality. And I think in doing that, it gained attention from brands. It gained attention, whether that was, you know, Colgate, whether that was Mass Mutual, like I said, whether that's Barbie. And I think ultimately, a big advice I give people is that your social media page really is like your business card these days.
I just said it this morning.
It is your business card.
It is.
So if I'm going to find someone to do hair, if I'm going to find someone who is does facials, and I go to the Instagram page, if the quality of the photos is dusty and crusty, if it's uneven cropping, these things where you think to yourself, I just want to do dentistry, I just want to be a dentist. It's not that simple. This is your marketing. So if I go to your page, if someone refers me to you and I say, hey, I'm looking for the best dentist in Texas. Someone says, oh, this is my dentist. I go to that Texas dentist page. I see a smile makeover, there's bloody gums.
Yeah, that's what lots of people do. It's because they want to show the other colleagues what they're doing. It's about the ego.
But even if you're just doing a smile, I've done smile cases. It happens to all of us. They're still bleeding. We just delivered their veneers, and I've pushed their gums too hard. But you can't have that photo on your thing then. If I go to your page and the picture is cropped crooked. If you can't crop the picture straight, how can I trust you to do my veneer straight?
Yeah, 100%.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
So
a good one.
People don't understand the importance of when I say you have to be excellent at everything from start to bottom. That's everything. So your social media, your website, everything needs to be clean. Someone needs to, you only have one chance to make a first impression. And most people's first impression is their Instagram page.
Yeah, 100%.
So when people say, well, how did you really build this branding? I was borderline crazy. They say sometimes you have to be crazy. Obsessive compulsive with every detail. And that was everything. I just now gave a little bit of power to my social media team, who's phenomenal. And they've been phenomenal for years. But before, and this is funny, before 3 months ago, I wouldn't even let them post for me. Meaning they created content that I wanted, but I didn't trust them to post it the right way. And this was their job, but I had my own, I was like, it needs to be perfect. I need to make sure, you know. And so I think that there's a lot of people who do great work. And I've actually worked with like a hairstylist for something or makeup artist, and I go to their page and I say, I want to give you some advice. You do beautiful work, but your page is not a reflection of it. And if I told someone, and I'm going to tag you, so I tell them, I'm going to tag you because I want to see you win. But you need to clean up your page. Because even if I tag you, they might come because they might be like, oh, well, Dr. Mara looked nice. But if they refer, they're going to be like, wait a minute. It is so important to make sure that if you yourself went to that person's page, look at your stuff, guys, look at your work. And would you trust that person? Would you think that this is the top of the top?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I definitely agree. We talk with so many dentists about it who also grew their social media. And also the fact that it's the new business card. Also websites, we realized people move, like you need a good website. Like we said, we need all across the board to be just perfect. But the one thing that people see first is the business card, that is social media. And the thing is also, what I like is when you said that people, when they search for some service and they look it up, most people do it now on social media. If you think about it, you hand that card out so many times before the people already know that they need something. So if someone sees you day by day, your content is like, it's so nice to see what a dentist does besides the clinical work. And then someone in the family is like, yeah, I actually want to get my teeth done. You're the first person they will think about.
Yeah. No, it's true. Do you know that in my practice, we have a lot of associates, and my team knows they do not put anybody on my schedule No new patients from insurance companies, walk-ins. The only people I see are people who requested Dr. Amira specifically. And 90% are from Instagram, or those 90%. The other 10 is referral. Someone sent someone. But 90% will say either I've been following her for a long time and I finally did it, or my girlfriend, my friend, my whatever. And like you said, what happens is you have your followers who might follow you because they love your lifestyle, they like your fashion photos, they whatever it is. But they also see you do beautiful dental work. And then when someone needs a dentist, they're like, I know this doctor in Miami.
Yeah.
This is, this is their name. But that being said, good marketing, whether it's Instagram, whatever it's other social media, good marketing will only get people to you. But once they get to you, right, it can't be fake, because now with AI, I mean, we can fake anything, we can edit anything. But once they get to you, right, you got to put your money where your mouth is, right? So you've got to show up and do quality work. And it goes back to what I said about really caring. And my clients and anyone I've ever worked with who knows my work ethic, I always tell patients, I have never had anyone get a smile done by me and is not happy with it. And it's not because I'm perfect, because Lord knows I've made a ton of mistakes in this business. And that's another thing. Mistakes have the power to turn you into something better than you were before. And that's why for these young dentists coming up, you got to embrace these mistakes, right? That's the only way. That's the only way we learn. We can have a whole nother podcast about the crazy mistakes I've made in dentistry, right? But ultimately, no one can say they're not happy with their smile makeover, because I tell my clients, I guarantee you're going to love your smile. Will we have to maybe send it back? Maybe. Will we have to change the design? Maybe. But if you treat people like a dollar sign, meaning, well, dang, you asking me, well, doc, if they just paid for 10 units, my overhead for that case was already $3,000, $5,000. If they don't like it, now what, right? But if too many dentists, and I've seen this, will deliver a case on somebody, show them with the mirror after, they hate their teeth, they're crying, but they signed all this stuff, because we shove a bunch of iPads in their face and say consent, 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 and they don't realize that they've just signed away that they love their smile and they can't get their money back. So we're like, well, I'm sorry, right? Because we don't want to eat up that lab cost. But what you'll learn, and because I've been, as they call it, an OG in this business a long time, what you'll learn is the value of building real relationships. Is that $4,000 that maybe you would have lost if you called your ceramist and said, hey, I know I told you to go with, OM3, but they want it whiter now, it looks too yellow, and we need to redo it. And they said, well, I have to recharge you, right? And you're like, oh my God, I'm not gonna make money on the case. But by doing that, you show people two things. I care about your smile than I care about money. Okay. And then you show them that your passion for delivering excellence is far more superior, right, than your need to get ahead in your career.
And I think this way you get fast ahead on the long run, because that's how people kind of get a good name, where people refer others because of that. Maybe you kind of don't make a profit on that case, but this person might send to other people.
There you go.
Yeah, and they'll be like, look, Dr. Amira went above and beyond to help me out. This is going to be the ideal person for you to get.
Yeah,
yeah.
And one thing about the mistakes that I like, and I think especially because you're entrepreneur-minded, that's the way you also do it, you're very confident. I see it like this. Everyone has the same sets of mistakes he has to do in his life, in his career. So when someone starts working as a dentist, he has those 20 mistakes. Let it be like simple stuff. Happened to me already when I was working in a clinic when I was younger. I missed calling back like a VIP patient really, and he called like super angry. But this never happened to me again. I know a dentist who, for example, asked a woman which month she was pregnant. She actually wasn't pregnant. Like small things that can happen. Or you do mistakes in the treatment. And everyone kind of has this set of, let's say, 100 mistakes you have to go through. But the thing is, just go quick through them. So just go ahead, be quick, be brave, and that way you will come out on top much quicker than the rest.
Yeah, you have to learn from them, and ultimately, like I said, I can't emphasize enough. Like, if I had to give people like just one little nugget of advice, it's like you have to care. You have to care.
Yeah.
If you don't care, I don't care what you do. You're a dentist, or if you don't care enough about people and what you're doing in your work, you might win in the short run. But like you said, your name and how you make people feel. People never forget how you make people feel. You know, I have clients that come in here and they say, "Hey, I want to be honest with you. I was looking to get my teeth done. Someone told me about you. Someone told me about Dr. Appa down the street. He opened in Miami as well now. And
Yes.
someone told me about Dr. So-and-so in Atlanta. And so I want you to know, like, we're basically shopping around." And I'm like, "Okay, great. Dr. Appa's a great dentist. Dr. Q is a great dentist." And you talk to them and you meet them. I literally had this conversation last week with my associate dentist. I said, in 2 weeks, I secured 2 large cases. One was husband and wife, 20 units each of them. And another was just one person. And both of those scenarios, they said, "We had been shopping around, we saw your work, it was nice, we saw so-and-so's work, it was nice. But it was something about you as a person, just what we thought you were on social media, and meeting you now, you actually are the same in person as you look in social media. And there's something about, it seems like you really care, and they seem like you're really passionate about what you do." And that was interesting to me, because I learned something that, even though I tell everyone, and I just told you guys, you gotta care about people, you gotta care about people. That's just how I grew up, is like, you gotta care about people. It matters, it matters, it matters. But in my mind, I didn't realize how much clients, because for me, I mean, I don't know, if I need a nose job and I'm getting plastic surgery, I'm like, I don't care what personality you have. I want the best person. You could be, a jerk. But that's kind of, but I think I'm looking at it so analytical, because I don't need a nose job,
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder now, I didn't realize that people who are investing so much money and time into something that's important, they really do care about that feeling. And so that was even something, and like I said, I'm learning, I'm almost 20 years in this game, but that's something I really learned, that I'm like, wow, so it's not just your work that's going to carry you. You can have the best work, but if someone meets you and doesn't like who you are, or doesn't, or you come across, I've heard people say, "Oh, they come across as like a car salesman. You're just trying to get the money, trying to get the money." It's like, you can't chase the money. Chase your craft, chase your relationships, and watch the money come, And so, yeah, I guess that's really what I attribute to where I'm at, is I care. And I care from down to the details of my Instagram page. I care about the quality of the photos. I care about the experience my clients have when they walk in the store. I care about the work I do. I've done cases. I did a case on someone, upper and lower, 12 teeth on the top, 12 teeth on the bottom. Huge case. I never liked the color he chose. He was a pretty big stylist, and he was around big names. And I knew that. He got his teeth, and where they were to where I made them was a huge difference. But I kept looking at his case, and I'm like, it's like, I don't really love it, right? And this is after he approved it. We tried it in. My assistants, and never, this is a lesson learned, never let your assistants convince you, because they also just like, "Come on, Dot,
Let's get it done."
they like it, they love it, that's all that matters." And I kind of, for the first time, and I'm not easily pressured, very like secure in who I am, I'm confident, I'm usually the one that's like, eh. And I said, you know what, they're right. That's a lot of units to like resend back to the lab, and they're happy with it, so we cemented it. I looked back at this case and I said, that's my name on that case. And I don't like it at all. And the patient was so happy. I let the patient leave. When I tell you, it was bothering me in my sleep that night. I couldn't
Yeah, you are
sleep.
perfectionist.
I literally was like, why did I do that? So I called the patient. I said, "I want to talk to you about something. I know you're going to think I'm crazy." He lived in New York. I said, "I need you to fly back. I need to take all that porcelain out of your mouth. You invested too much time and money. I don't love it." "Doc, but it's nice." I said, "It's nice, but it's
not perfect.
it's not perfect." I said, I think your face isn't right enough. It's dulling you down. Went through the after pictures like with a fine tooth comb, and I said, no, I can't. So he said, I'm gonna have to take all this off. I said, you're gonna have to just trust me, please trust me. So he said, okay, I trust you. We took everything off. It took forever. This was before I had the water lace. Now I can pop. You know the water lace machine. You can take the porcelain off. Back then I had to drill.
Oh my goodness.
So many units off of this man's teeth. And we sent it back and we redid his case. Can I tell you, that was one of the best decisions do you know how many cases I've gotten because of him? Every time he posts his teeth in the comments, my God, your smile. Everywhere he goes, people are like, your teeth. He's referred me so many people. And I think to myself, I didn't even do it for that reason, right? But this is why I say when you care, when you really care, because you can't fake it. You can't fake caring. You either care or you know. Because some people would have been like, oh, heck no. What does the lab cost on that to redo? I'm thinking to myself, well, I might break even, but who cares? That's a walking advertisement. And I think to myself, that's really what separates the best from the rest.
Yeah.
Is really that mentality of, I can't think short term. I'm building a legacy, right?
100%.
I'm building a legacy with my name and what I do. So everything that is associated and tied to me, I need to treat as if it needs to be excellent. It needs to be perfect. And I always say, nothing is perfect. But if you reach perfection, you're gonna catch excellence. And that's just how I live everything I do. And everyone who's close to me knows that. You know, so
that's amazing. Yeah, I think that more people have to think like that, especially the younger generation. I think the people that I'm around, especially also when we started out our first, let's say, business, or just getting more attention. When we made decisions, like I told you before, we had a big brand, like 25 million views. We're traveling. We got invited. We went to flying with helicopters and stuff. And then we just overnight stopped it because we saw the vision for the future, something much bigger that would help us and our families much more. And that is something that I think, especially younger dentists or in general also people have to learn, that you should always go for the long run. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. And short-term pleasure or money or whatever will never bring you to the place that all the let's say people are that made it already.
And going for the long term also will help you in the short term. I think a lot of people, when they look at the long term, they get a bit burnt out. Like, oh, okay, I want to achieve this. Far down the line, how am I actually going to get there? But it helps you to reverse engineer some steps. Exactly as you said, for every single day you can be like, okay, if I try to be perfect today, eventually I will reach excellence at a certain point. So yeah, I mean, people out there, young dentists especially, I think they can learn a lot from what you just.
Well, it also what I've learned from, because I've mentored so many dentists, you know, and what I've also noticed is that you have to also be willing to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And when I say invest, I mean on all platforms. Financially invest, time invest. You know, you're not going to be able to be everywhere. There were times when I was the first person to show up in this office and the last one to leave. That's the investment I made. You know, I learned the front desk, like I could do everything the front desks do. I could do everything the assistants do. I could do everything, obviously, the doctor did. Even investing money, you see people like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, you're clearly not great at social media. That's okay. But you need to pay someone then to do it. Oh my God, that's so much money. I don't want to invest that. I don't want to go take this course. Well, you got to invest it. This is how much it costs to learn how to do Invisalign. Pay for the Invisalign course or don't. So a lot of people also feel like it's a big investment. And I think what this generation is starting to learn is really the power of social media, and that they just said influencers is like a crazy billion, I forget how many $1 billion, it's like $250 billion in influencers alone, right? There was a time, I don't know what year it was, that I literally was making so much money off of, and I hated the word influencer, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
I really.
Oh my God. It was literally like, I have a whole ass 8-year doctor degree. And I would get an email from to my team that was like, yes, we're looking for such and such influencers. And I'm like, you know, it even became a joke because my sister, who's like 10 years old, would be like, oh, Dr. A, my sister's an influencer. I'm like, please, like, it's not, I don't, like, stop. I hate it. So, but there was a time when the amount of money that I was making from doing these collaborations, I'll call it, with different brands, in my mind, I'm like, this is my own husband, who's like, it was so anti-social media. When he would know the amount of money I was being paid to do like one post, he was like, he was like, what? And I was like, he's like, for one post? I'm like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's
Like, so I think that now I think about the investment that I would make, even like getting my logo, which I must have a thing for like UK, because the guy who did my logo is also UK. Shout out UK. It was pretty expensive back then for a logo, but I seen his work. It looked like top of the line to me. And I remember other people asking me about it because I posted his work, and then when they heard the price, they were like, oh my gosh, like, no thank you. And I'm like, all right, cool, right? But I turn around and see their logo, and it's something as a logo, as simple as a logo that we don't think. But remember, especially if you're doing aesthetic dentistry, and especially if you want to be the top of aesthetic dentistry, you are dealing with clientele who care very much about the details. And details to you, you're thinking, okay, the details in teeth. But they are judging you from the like we talked about a website. Websites aren't like a huge thing anymore, but you better believe that it needs to be clean. It needs to look good. It needs to look top of the level. You know, you have a logo. It needs to look nice. Even my Instagram handle, I look at people's handles all the time. And I think to myself, I'm so embarrassed to say this. My Instagram handle used to be like, Doctor __.
Yeah, it's super.
And I just tell people, like, take the underscores out. I know people have dots in theirs too now, but I'm just a big believer of like, make it simple for people. Like, clean Instagram handle. So when we get into these details and we get into the work, it's like, look at all those things. Go back and check yourself. Like, do I have a clean Instagram handle? Are my pictures good quality? Get a camera, guys. Stop being cheap and using your iPhone to take pictures of cases and wondering why. Like,
that doesn't work. I saw like the people with iPhone of cases. It's the thing is, it's so simple. You don't even need to have a crazy amount of skill. If you have a good camera, just go from there. You can do an online course, and there's so much on YouTube as well.
There's so many online courses you can take. I mean, I came from the era where like I started with the iPhone pictures, and looking back at them, I'm like, oh my god, like I really thought I was doing my thing. Like I was like, oh, I'm killing it, right?
Oh, great.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, and that's what's about like progressing and learning. And I think that that now the younger dentists do get it, like, so they're into like the courses, they're doing the photography, they're doing that. But I think the question is always like, oh, well, how can I build and people want they always say like, I'm an overnight success, I just don't know which night it happened, right?
Yeah.
I don't know which night in my 18-year career, I can't tell you which night it happened, but what I can tell you is that I spent years in the beginning with no social media, just learning the work, perfecting my craft. I spent years, even after having a social media, I made a lot of mistakes. I posted a lot of ugly shit. I had stupid Instagram handles. Like, I didn't have a social media team for a long time. Like, I went, you know what I'm saying? I went through the stages of it. And now, this younger generation has the luxury of so many of us who've been through so much, and it's like, here, just listen to me. This is what you need to do. Build your thing. Post several times a week. I don't care if nobody likes it. You guys are in the era where you can turn off likes. I had to go through where it was embarrassing, and you had 12 likes, and everyone saw it. We didn't have to hide the likes back then. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, but it's like you gotta get to a point where you do not care what other people think. You gotta just build.
Yeah, 100%. I just had a call this morning with someone I really love from my family, and it was the same thing. She was telling me like, yeah, I want to start social media because I post daily. I just document my stories, what we do, because people are so like, and it's your story that makes it interesting.
Yeah.
And people always think you need to be at a certain level to start. No, make your story your brand. So what I do, I just when we flew here, I just document. People are like, yo, you guys, beforehand you had the traveling brand, you stopped it, now something else, and that's what people want to see. They don't want to just see perfection, everything like going well. They also want to see like the vulnerable side.
Of
That's why it's
course.
social media. I want to like when you say, look, today this and that didn't went that well.
Yes.
And yeah, the thing is to just get started and forget about what people think.
Yeah, forget about what people think. And what I'm learning too is, like you said, it's like everything has become so like fake in a lot of ways, right? We can create anything, especially with AI now. Everything is fake, right? We can edit photos. Women can, change hair color on a picture. You can do anything, right? One thing that I believe has contributed to a part of my success, just as a person, forget, like I said, because it's not just dentistry, I do a lot of stuff, it's really just being able to be like open and honest about my story. And I've shared posts where I've talked about there were times when early in our practice where we couldn't pay ourselves, my sister and I.
Mhm.
We could just make enough to pay the staff. I remember our Patterson bill would be backed up for months. They'd be like calling all the time, like, you owe this money. And we were really like just juggling
Yeah.
and moving stuff around. And people need to hear that stuff, because it's like you're able to see yourself in someone else, right? And that's why even like when I talk about like how passionate I am about women empowerment and about diversity in dentistry, because there's so few of us in dentistry, right? So I think to myself, if I can be a reflection to another young girl from wherever, Romania, across the country, from Sudan, you know what I'm saying, from Japan, who can see me and be like, wow, she's a woman, she's a mom, she built this, like, and I could share stories of, hey, when we moved to this country, I shopped at Goodwill. Like, I used to get clothes from Goodwill. And I think that when people can relate to you and they can see that you're not trying to look like this perfect person all the time, and like you've had it there where you're like, I've been through some things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've grown, it makes other people feel like, okay, it's okay that I'm kind of behind right now. It's okay that I made these mistakes.
Yeah.
And so I think that like at the end of the day, I've never wanted to be remembered for being like this phenomenal cosmetic dentist in the country and she's the top of the top. Like, that's not what's ever like really been impactful for me. What's made me smile, what makes me really happy is that I know there's so many young girls who look at me and think to themselves like, wow, like she came from Egypt, they were so poor, they built this up, she built this brand, she still can be a mom, that's what makes me happy, is when I get DMs and they're like, I just want you to know, like, it's so hard, but I keep going because I see you and I hear you talk about how hard it is and to keep going, and it inspires me. That's what makes it worth it.
People keep going. Also,
that's my legacy to me.
Yeah.
It's not the porcelain veneers, which I love, and I'm blessed to be good at, but that is really what it's about. And so I think that like any viewers that are like watching this, and this is not just like women, obviously men, there's like so many of us have a story, and whether it's like how we grew up, whether it was like we didn't have money or we did, or I dropped out of college, went back, or I failed a year. I've heard people fail a year of dental school repeated. I failed the boards 3 times. Like, I want people to like know that I got fired from my job as an associate. I want you to know, like, that's not the end of your story. And all of us, I don't care who you are and how high you've reached in this industry. If they're being real with you, they're going to tell you they've had nights that they've cried. They've had nights they've been on their knees praying to God, like, please help me. Like, I'm really like, this is not for the weak. And I want people to understand that this is for all of us. And it gets better.
Yeah, I think that most people, that's a big problem that I also didn't like when I followed certain people. When it's always just the good stuff and they never talk about the problems they have, you start, when you are on the same path, you start doubting yourself. You're like, why are they succeeding the whole time and they everything's going perfect, so it has to be about me. It has to be my character traits or the way that I grew up. But if those people actually talk about their stories, or sometimes you should post on Instagram like about famous people, failed 3 times a year in school.
Yes.
That's when you realize like, all right, it's not about luck. It's really just about hard work.
Yes.
Keep going.
Or someone thinks it's too late for them to stop. I
Yeah.
start. I posted something. I was like, the year that Estee Lauder started, the year of McDonald's, this year that
KFC.
yes, look at the years of all these
Yeah.
people. Amazon, like you start looking at it, and you're because people, the devil will have you thinking like I'm too old. I switched my career too much. I had a classmate who went all through pharmacy. Didn't like it. Then came to dental school. Imagine. Hated it. Went through all your dental school. Then went to orthodontic residency. And it's like, imagine if he was like, okay, this is just like, it's too much. So I think that like, at the end of the day, you're right. It's like, you can't compare your real life to someone's highlight reel on
Yeah,
Instagram.
exactly. That's
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just, it's not real.
My dad actually went through that as well. Like he graduated from medical school at the age of 49, I think, years old. And you know, one thing that people don't realize unless they actually start posting a little bit more vulnerable things and things about themselves that, you know, that are not so polished and they wouldn't usually post, is that feeling that you do get when somebody does come up to you and say that, "Look, you inspired me by posting about, you know, the fact that you graduated really late, the fact that, you know, you didn't have the best day today because I was dealing with something like this as well."
Yeah.
And that's what makes posting online and posting, especially in that way, so much more worthwhile. Because I know for you, 100%, for us as well, it was a very difficult. Like posting on social media it's not as easy as you think. You know, to get started, yes, post a lot. But once you get to a certain point, you gotta be thinking, okay, let's find something to post. I gotta get the good hashtags and wrap things on as well. And you just outsourced a bunch of this work as well. But I mean, I know for you the thing that was probably getting you going, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it's those people who came into the practice like looking so forward to meeting you specifically because of the work that you did. Or the messages that you got in the DMs, people like saying that you inspired them and stuff like that as well. So I would say that for the people who are watching who aren't posting that kind of thing, switch over and see how you actually feel once you do get those messages or people coming in.
Yeah.
And even not, you know, you should know that out there people are respecting you a lot more because
Yes.
of that.
Well, you know, I think that what people need to understand is sometimes they think like little old me, how can I make a difference, right? But you really just don't know like what eyes are watching. And like you said, there was a time when, you know, I started and I remember having 30,000 followers and thinking like, compared to so many huge pages, like who's this little old me, right? And like you said, I think that once you really sit in your purpose, when you figure out what that purpose is, and I think God really has a way of tugging on your heart when that's your purpose. And when you find it and you really walk in that and you're in line with that purpose, you'll start to know that you're doing the right thing because I call it angels, right? And not to get too like spiritual and stuff. But I say like God's angels, meaning that someone can DM me who probably thinks, they always say, I doubt you're going to see this. I always see that in my DMs. I doubt you probably get so many DMs, you're not going to open this. But I see it. And when they say something to me, like, I want you to know that I was failing my classes, I wasn't doing well, I didn't think I was going to amount to anything. You encouraged me, I took my DAT. I just wanted to show you that I got in and I'm going to dental school. I remember reading a DM like that one day and getting so emotional and I started crying. And I don't know who this person is, but I started crying because I realized that there was something missing in my own life. I was a mom, I had 2 healthy kids, I was in a happy marriage, I was doing well financially, but why was I still feeling like I felt like something was missing? It's honest God truth. And I remember praying to God and thinking like, I sound so ungrateful. People would love my life, right? Why do I feel so unfulfilled? And I realized at some point it was because I felt like I'm not doing enough to pull other people up with me.
To share kind of what you got.
It wasn't, I was missing that. Whose life am I really changing?
What impact?
What impact am I making? God gave me all of this. And whose life am I really changing? Okay, you change people's teeth, you change their life, but it was bigger than that to me. And when I started to sit in that purpose, and when I got that DM from her and I started crying, I was like, because this is it. This is the purpose. And this is what matters to me, is how many more young people can I influence that way who kind of felt like they can't, or they don't want to, or they can't push through. And so now I still don't take it for granted. I get tons of DMs, and no, I can't go through all of them. But when I tell you, I never take it for granted when I see someone who says, "You inspire me, you encourage me," because if they only knew how much that DM, they think I did so much for them, but they don't know how much that DM does for me and my heart and my life.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really good. I think that is the end goal, kind of.
Yeah, that's it for me. I mean, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna practice dentistry. My staff, we joke all the time. I'm like, oh, it's almost time for me to retire. I'll probably start doing courses, you know. I'll probably start doing courses, but at the end of the day, I know that for me and my name and my legacy, the most important thing to me is not the smiles, it's not the teeth I change. The most important thing for me is these young people's lives that I can impact, and how many more people like me can we create in the space and get them to the top and get them to these levels and get them in these rooms, get them confident, get them feeling like for so long you felt so marginalized, but really like, no, you're not. Like, you're the top. So that's what's important to me now, you know.
What were some big names that you treated? Because you were just touching on that beforehand.
Sounds like you got a long list.
Yeah, and a lot of them. Oh my God, I'd get rappers in here, and when I didn't know who they were, like some of my friends would laugh. Like, I'd be like, yeah. So I mean, obviously, like, people knew LeBron was my client for years, and D Wade, Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child, who's also like a good friend, Gabrielle Union, so many NBA, so many NFL players. I can't even remember all of them, but I mean, the list goes on. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot of them. We've had so many athletes. Oh yeah, I said rappers. I was like a West Coast rapper, YG, and it's so funny because I knew his songs, but I didn't know him. And then he walked in, and it's so funny. And even now, I'm not into sports like that anymore. You know, my husband's so far like, he's retired. He loves to watch still, but I'll get a call from someone, but they'll be like, you know, so and so is coming in, and I'm like, I don't know who that is. And then I tell my husband, and he's like, you don't know who that is? I'm like, I don't know who that is. You know what I'm saying? So, but you know, I actually had an NBA player who was referred to me for he wanted veneers. I always find myself in these situations. He was doing a Puma commercial, and they wanted his teeth done, his veneers done, and they're like, the commercial's in like 11 days, and I'm like, what? Yeah, and I was like, oh crap, and like, I was like, okay, like, yeah, we can make it happen. And it's funny because I did like a virtual with him, virtual consult and stuff, and I didn't really know who he was before, but then afterwards I realized, like, it was a while before I realized that he was worth so much money. But anywho, I knew he was in the NBA, and I knew he was somebody, and they asked for pricing, and you know, I gave him my pricing, which isn't cheap. And after they decided to go with me and he came in my office, he was like, you know, why I ultimately chose you? And I was like, I would assume it's because my work is bomb. Like, what else, right?
Yeah.
He's like, no, you had good work. And so he's like, but I noticed that like some of the other dentists we spoke to were like, would you be willing to like post in exchange for like discount, whatever? He's like, the fact that you were like, this is the price and the price is the price, I'm like, that made you want it? He's like, oh hell yeah. I was like, no. Give me Dr. A in Miami. She didn't want no discount. She didn't want no post. She was like, give me my money. And I thought that was so funny to me because that also took me years to like know my worth. And like, I used to, you know, I had my years of like, oh, maybe we should do it for free. What if they post? What if, you know? And I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, oh, most of my clients, you wouldn't know who they are because I can't say they pay full price and they don't want people to know, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting because it's just interesting how they sense how you value yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, she was like, no discounts. This is the price.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it gives a higher value to them for sure. Like, people perceive it much more like that. There's actually an experiment that was done. They let people test 3 different wines, like different qualities, and they let them guess which one is the more expensive. And no, which one is the best one? I just had to say which one is the best. And of course, they ranked it exactly how it was. The cheapest is the worst, the middle, and the expensive is the best. In the end, they revealed that it's all the same wine. and that is the thing. So people
Probably like the way it looked on the outside or something.
exactly, but
It's a mental thing for people. Yeah. I think because I think also people think like, well, if you're really that good and people are saying to come to you and you did this great work, then you don't want clout. You don't want to shout out. Like you want to be paid for your hard work. So and thank God, he loves his teeth. His teeth are beautiful. I posted his Puma commercial, and I'm just of course like a little creep staring at the video.
like the teeth.
Like and all I care about are the teeth, and I'm like watching him on video, like,
Yeah. I'm on there too.
yeah. So yeah, but
It's really nice. Yeah, I think there are loads of things that people can learn, especially from colleagues like you that are also still that young in the field. I think that's
am I
what
young? I'm like
I think so. Like
I'm like I don't know how many years dentist for, because I'm ready to dentist my way out of here. Like,
yeah, like 35 years.
oh gosh, no
I
way.
think in the US even very long. Like what I realized,
Yeah.
like they work until they
70.
Yeah.
the last day.
Maybe not me. I've worked really hard to like get to where I'm at, but my goal is like for your brand to make money for you. You know, I'm in my practice 2 days a week only now, and I only see specific cases. The other day, someone's like, "Oh, whoever needs an anterior root canal," and I'm like, I haven't picked up an endo anything in like.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like
I think
7
endo's the
years.
worst.
I'm like, I don't even know if I can remember how I had to do a filling, and I actually was like, I remembered how to do etch bond and all that stuff. But I'm like, okay, endo, I don't know that I could do this, efficiently. So, but yeah, I mean, I just love where I'm at in life right now. Honestly, like I'm able to pick the cases I want to do. I enjoy it. Every time I say I'm gonna retire, I finish a smile makeover, and I'm like, this is so freaking good. Like I love this feeling. And so for me, it's like it's fun for now, and I enjoy it. And like I said, my passion is really just wanting to build up this profession, especially for women, especially for people of color. That matters to me, that really want to change that ratio. I'm passionate about it. I'm very open and vocal about it. And I'm excited to just see how this profession has changed over the years. And I'm excited to see how much more it's going to change.
That's beautiful, man. I mean, you've gotten to the point where you're super comfortable, you're super happy. And I think people just need to realize that behind everything that they see now, there's been a lot of hard work.
Oh my gosh.
And I think they realize it also by everything we've spoken about today, that, you've got to put the hours in.
Yep.
You've got to put the training in. As you said, invest in yourself, whether that be time, money, resources, so that you can get the outcome. I think
Exactly.
I think this has been a fantastic
Well, it's been
podcast.
nice chatting with you.
It's been lovely. It really has been. There's been a lot of things that have opened my eyes. Also.
Really?
A lot of things that you said that I'll go away.
Dr. Mirage.
Yeah, there was some sauce for real.
Well, I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited to see this all come together and hear from other dentists, and I think this is just awesome.
Yeah, we are looking forward. I mean, that's why we started this. No one is doing that. Everyone's just clinical. And since we realized during university, wait, like, this is not the way we want to go down. Like, just, treating patients the whole day. We realized, okay, there need to be more people who talk about this side of dentistry.
Yeah.
How to run a clinic, how to market yourself, how to build a brand.
Yeah.
And so, we are also excited. We are so happy that you took your time.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
On this Friday to talk to us. And who knows, maybe one day, episode 2 over Zoom or whatever we will see.
Yeah, I look forward to it. There's so much knowledge I have to give, and maybe you guys come back to sunny Miami a year from now, and
next summer
we
already planned. When we arrived here first day, we're like, yo, we need to.
I know. I'm like,
going back to the rainy.
I was about to say, I don't know how you're about to leave Miami and go
Nah,
back.
it will be.
Good luck.
It will be hard for real.
Yeah.
Like especially now with the winter over there.
Oosh.
Yeah.
You will see. Perfect.
Well,
All right. For everyone else, we will also drop all the links down below. If you want to check out the socials, want to see how it's done, what you have to do to just get started with your brand. And besides that, don't forget to subscribe to not miss out on further episodes. That was us. Bye-bye.
Bye.